to Zach, who's filling in for James with the roll call.
I am. Thank you. Yeah. So do the roll call here. Just let me know if you are present. Ty Hadley here. David Armstrong here. Leslie Beek. Kristen Dressel. Amy
I'm
Hill.
here.
Bill Holder. Tori Irwin. Chris Jammers. Natasha Kaufman. Sean Klein. Here. Patrick. Yep. Charles. Here. Marcia.
Here.
Online. Thanks. Sky. Steve Moriarty. Jason Peters. Justin Saylor. Lisa Schrader. Derek Spear. Sean Shirisi. Justin Taylor. Brent Warren. Here. Jeff Schaefer. Right, that is all.
Zach, this is
Let's see. Hopefully everybody had a chance to take a look at the minutes from June 7th. Any questions or comments? We would just need a motion to approve.
So,
Do you have a second?
second.
All those in favor? Any opposed? All right, turn it back to you, Zach, for the August administrative modifications.
Great. So, you can in your packet, you'll see those modifications in the month of August. If you have any questions, you can talk to Caitlin or David.
Thank you. We'll go right into new business.
Great.
Oh, it's not.
Okay, well. So we have one transportation resolution to present today. It is NDOT initiated. It's the bridge over on US 6 over the CSX Railroad. Originally, it had been programmed into our transportation improvement program as a replaced superstructure, but it's being kind of downgraded the scope through the project development process, and that is just a bridge deck overlay. So we're modifying that scope into our TIP. If there are no questions, I would ask for endorsement of resolution 27-23.
Is the reason being downgraded due to better conditions than anticipated?
I believe so, yeah.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Resolution 2723 is endorsed.
And I did also want to make a note that over this summer, we've been amending both our 2022 to 2026 TIP and our 24 and 28 TIP. And just this past week, the state transportation improvement program was approved by Federal Highway. And so now we're just moving into one TIP, which is mostly great news for staff, but just thought I would let you guys know.
Great, we'll turn it over to Linda.
Great. Possible for me to.
You should be about that.
Okay, good morning, everyone. It has been some time since I updated TTAC on MACOG's Brownfields grant. I know Ty is on our regional working group, but most of the rest of you are not. But hopefully you can take back this information as you're working in your communities. If you come across some potentially contaminated sites, you can keep in mind that we have brownfield assessment funding and that we're continuing to pursue new funding and support local governments through the cleanup and redevelopment process. So I'm going to give a brief update on our current grant, as well as an overview of the grant that we just closed out, which is our first grant. Shown here in this picture is one of the sites that we invested the most funding on. This is the Arnold site in Warsaw. You can see that lovely dilapidated industrial building that was then demolished. And right now under construction is a affordable housing project by Real America. So that's one of the success stories that we're really excited about, addressing the housing shortage in Kosciuszko County with that project. Just an overview, a reminder of our Brownfields program. It was established in 2018, and we structured that as a coalition with 4 counties and MACOG as the grant recipient, so that any site, whether it's unincorporated or or in a small town or city could get our brownfields funding without every single municipality needing to become a member of the coalition. We've received 2 grants so far. The first one, I'll be giving an overview on that. We closed it out earlier this year. We are working through the second grant, and we hope actually to reapply this fall for additional funding for $1.5 million. Pictured here is the Ward Bakery building that's transforming into a maker space and a retail space for small businesses, entrepreneurship, small business incubator in South Bend that we assisted with, about $45,000. Here's the structure of our Brownfields project team, just as a reminder. So the Regional Brownfields Working Group is comprised of local government staff like Ty and others across counties and cities in our region, and they help to make decisions, prioritize the sites, vote on which ones to spend money and what deliverables, as well as just oversee the grant process in general and participate in our regular check-in calls with our consultants who are listed here: Metric Environmental, Roberts Environmental, and Revitalized Communities. And Metric Environmental is a disadvantaged business. I have here today a draft of our final report from our 2019 grant. If anyone wants to see that, we will be publishing the final version for Policy Board next week. So you can look through exactly how much money we invested in which sites and what deliverables, and see some of the highlights, like I'm putting in here various sites we've assisted with. This example here, 415 West Garrow, is in Plymouth, right just west of downtown, an area that has a lot of vacant lots near the railroad, and Habitat for Humanity just built a single family home on that lot that looks not like it belongs 2 blocks from downtown. So it looks really great now. Give you an overview of the spending by county and on a list of sites that we invested funding on. So the majority of our funding, just over half, went to sites in Elkhart County, almost a third to Kosciuszko County, and smaller shares to St. Joseph and Marshall. The reason that we believe St. Joseph and Marshall County had much lower, Marshall County, but much lower percentage is because each of those counties participated in coalitions where they each received $600,000 within the last few years, just within their counties, respectively. Of course, St. Joseph County and South Bend and Chewacca, there continues to be a lot of need, maybe less so in Marshall County, but we still encourage the counties to all participate in our coalition. So as needs come up, we can address that. I have a list of sites here, the numbers per site: 7 in Elkhart, 4 in Kosciuszko County, 2 in Marshall County, and 3 in St. Joseph County that we assisted with in our first grant application. Most of these sites are actually moving towards housing projects, which is really exciting. A lot of multi-unit, some affordable housing, some market rate, a couple single-family homes. So that's just really exciting to see us repurposing and infilling in areas that are within small towns or within our cities, and building efficiently that way the housing that we know we need. So that's been an exciting outcome. And most of our funding has been spent on the meat of what we do, which is the phase 1 reports, background, historical information to help transfer and protect the new purchaser or the purchaser of the property from liability, and phase 2, which is basically sampling. We can do tank removals, which we've done at this 1701 Sterling Elkhart site. That's about the extent of the cleanup we can do. Tank removals are only allowed because we dig out the tank and then do that for the purpose of sampling underneath to see if it leaked. And the tank's out of the ground, so we're allowed to dispose of it. So we've used that creatively in the past on the site. The city of Elkhart did demolish it, so it looks much better now. That building was on fire when we led a tour to that building. There are a number of fires, people living in the building, so the neighbors are very glad that it's torn down while the city continues to work with developers to pursue incentives for a housing project there. We hosted 9 public meetings, many of them site specific, some in Elkhart shown on here, postcard and word cloud shown from our Word Bakery building visioning session there. So we continue to engage the public on what we're doing and provide updates to city and county council meetings, neighborhood associations, and occasional updates here, this committee. So moving on to our current grant, which is our $500,000 grant. I underlined the sites that we were already assisting with on our previous grant. So you can see the others that are not underlined are new to this current grant cycle. That picture there shows very recent field work when it was about 100 degrees outside over at the South Bend Range site. You're actually standing in the interior of a building, but the roof collapsed decades ago. And so it's just really interesting structure there. So a couple highlights. I'll go over some other slides here with other sites, but ones I didn't highlight that we're helping with Owen's Supermarket in Warsaw, which will be a housing project in Marshall County. Actually, I'll highlight that one. In South Bend, we're helping with Diamond View, which is an IHCDA rental housing tax credit funded project, and Sixth in Indiana and the Roundhouse in Elkhart, which are part of the Benham planning process and design charrette that recently completed. Here's a snapshot of the site that is not in South Bend or Elkhart, because those were target areas, but I want to give you an idea of the sites we're assisting with outside of those. This is really interesting. That old photograph is from the library's archives, but it shows a building on this now vacant lot you see on the right that the town is transferring to the library, hopefully for a new library building here, right at the entrance to as you come into their downtown. And it's been vacant for years, ever since the wastewater treatment plant and several other uses closed down. So we're assisting hopefully with the tank removal there, but we just completed some sampling a couple weeks ago. This one, the Western Rubber site, which was also at one point aerial cycle work. So the new housing project is adopting both. You can almost see the similarities of the design that they've proposed, as well as they've adopted the name of one of the former uses of that site. And it's sort of near Goshen College on 9th Street there. But we assisted with some additional sampling when that housing project is moving forward. And I think this is the last one here. This is on Washington Street in downtown Plymouth. You can see the aerial view there with the green pin. It shows how close it is to the park and the Yellow River in downtown. And the hope is to demolish this building, which doesn't have a lot of value use left, and build housing through some local developers there. And an overview of where we're at on our current grant. We've actually spent about 70% of it. The need is very high for the funding that we have, and we have to say no to some projects. So we've been on a bit of a new site moratorium this summer, and we'll be thinking very carefully about the remaining 30% of our funding over the next year. But we've been on such a pace to spend down our funding that we're actually able to reapply after just 1 year of our current grant cycle. Although the current grant we're operating under was much smaller than the $1.5 million that we will be pursuing. We've already completed or have the sampling completed and are waiting for pending report on 14 out of our goal of 18 sampling activities. So we're well on our way to exceeding our goal there. We've already participated in 4 public meetings. We had some cleanup planning and reuse planning that we did. Shown on the right here is some of the design concepts that were prepared for the CGCon site in Elkhart that we used to solicit more specific feedback from residents on what they wanted to see there. We helped with a preliminary cleanup plan there, and throughout that process, we're able to secure $4 million in financing for cleanup for that site, which demolition's about to start, and then cleanup will be in 2024. So I think that's, the last slide here is just a reminder that you can go to macog.com/brownfields.html and find a variety of resources. You can find the sites of interest form. So if you're engaging with a local property owner or someone who inherited a property that they don't know what to do with and they'd like to get rid of it, but there's concerns on contamination, we may be able to help. You can direct them to the sites of interest form. I can help them fill it out. It's mostly just an intake form for our regional brownfields working group to review and for me to help screen for eligibility. We have to have the EPA or IDEM give their blessing on the sites that we're allowed to spend money on. Basically, the current owner or immediate cost owner can't have dispensed petroleum on that site, or the current that I'd say that's the biggest barrier that we run into, or you can't be involved in, it can't be a super fund, or a currently operating business is currently disposing of hazardous substances. That would fall under RCRA instead of the brownfields CERCLA legislation that we operate under. So, that's just a reminder to submit sites. We'll be building an inventory as we move towards our next brownfields grant application. So I would say sites that need assistance within the next 1 to 3 years would be great. Sites that need sampling right now for a project that's about to break ground would not probably be something that we could assist with immediately. Are there any questions about our brownfields program?
That's a great update. It's great to see some of those projects there. My husband's family business operated out of the board baking building for 3 generations. So it's nice to see that transformation take place. Any other questions for you? If not, we can move into staff updates.
Great. So earlier this year, we had received Safe Streets and Roads for All Action Plan grant from Federal Highway DOT, and just this past week, maybe 2 weeks, we have a finally executed agreement with Federal Highway, so we can start kind of working on that grant. This month we'll be putting out a request for proposals to hire a consultant to kind of assist with that process, but it'll be probably over a year long process where we do additional safety analysis, kind of form a steering committee, and establish kind of general safety goals and identify projects that we want to include in this regional safety action plan. And upon completion of the plan, we'll be able to make all of our communities eligible in our region for implementation grants for the Safe Streets and Roads for All program. So that'll be an exciting project, but just wanted to let you know that we'll be getting that RFP out into the world this month, so we can start that process. Another update I have is for the Michigan on the Move 2050 transportation plan. So we started this planning process about last August, I believe. So, and at the end of the week, we should have a final draft of the plan out for public comment. So I just wanted to thank a lot of staff time as well as your all time and kind of participating in that planning process. We will be holding an open house on September 21st so in a few weeks at the MACOG office from 3 to 5. So I would encourage you to stop by and eat some food and also visit about the plan if you'd like, and as well as if you in your own time, please review the plan and provide any comments or feedback that you have. We'd be happy to collect that input over this next month. But we'll be sending out probably links to all of the documentation on Friday, so you'll see that hot off the press.
The next quarterly tracking meeting is going to be taking place October 5th. Tentatively, I say this because there's kind of an overlap with the next TTAC meeting. But please just get your forms in at the deadline. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact any of the MACOGs.
And I don't think we have sent out the email for quarterly tracking quite yet, but we'll send out a schedule for that. Just wanted to let you know that it's on the Thursday after TTAC.
Any other updates? If not, privilege of the floor, any questions or comments from anybody either here in person or online? Any public comments?
We did not receive anything in advance.
So is that time for?
Yeah.
Probably 20 years ago, I rode the red line back to Elkhart, and the driver was away early, but it turned out he wanted to go to the restroom in the library. That door's been closed, so they don't do that anymore. But anyhow, recently on the orange line, the driver was 10 minutes early. getting downtown. I criticized you for being that early. The transport drivers, if they're early, they'll generally stop for a few minutes. And I think that same thing should be done over here, particularly since there's a medical center on that line.
Yeah, thank you for your comments, feedback.
Any other questions or comments? If not, we just need a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Uh,
Thanks, everyone.